Number 3. So I would consider camping my passion. It's the only hobby I have that I take so much interest in and get really excited to do. More specifically, camping alone. Of course, I camp with my friends every once in a while, but nothing really matches the experience of camping in the wild alone. Something about sitting by a fire you made yourself until late and going to bed, but nothing with the sounds of the wild to accompany you. Of course, camping alone also means I experience some pretty scary shit. Usually it's animals, howls and cries from the woods that send chills down my spine, or animals that take an interest in your tent. I've had bears sniff and bat at my tent, which is absolutely terrifying and usually keeps me up at the rest of the night. I make sure I don't keep any food in the tent, though, so no animals should ever really want to get into my tent. The scariest thing to encounter out in the wild, however, is another person. You should think that animal and human footsteps sound relatively similar, but they don't. I've only had it happen twice until now. The first time, anything but it still scared me shitless. Second time, someone stomped and waited for a while. They sounded about 20 feet from my tent. I was holding my breath until they just walked off again. However, about a month ago, I had my scariest camping experience. It was probably 2:00 a.m., and I had been lying in my sleeping bag for about an hour just listening to the sounds of the wild when I heard footsteps approaching. I remember how they sounded as they brushed through the grass. They kept getting closer and closer. At this point, I was pretty freaked. It sounded like they were directly approaching my tent. And that they were. They stomped right down in front of my entrance of my tent. I was trying my hardest to keep my breathing quiet. I always take a handgun with me when I go camping, just to stay safe from animals. That was when the first thing came to my mind. They stopped in front of my tent. I needed that gun. As quietly as could, reached into my open backpack, feeling around softly through the clothing and such. I finally found the gun, and I pulled it out carefully. I held it tightly, staring at my tent door. What happened next really made me panic. The person outside my tent started to unzip my tent door. It was slow, like they were trying to be quiet. At this point, I was thinking, no more playing assumptions. You need to make sure you don't get murdered. So I flipped the safety off my gun, and the person stopped unzipping the tent door after the click. I choked out the words, "Who's there? I have a gun." After that, the person ran off faster than I had ever heard anyone run. I couldn't shut my eyes after that. I was shaking through for sure that I was either going to be killed or kill someone that night. I still go camping alone. The scariness is honestly the best part about it. I never know what you're going to encounter. Number 2. So I was hiking up Mount Baden-Powell in November before the first snows had arrived. No one else was on the trail because it was incredibly windy. Santa Ana Day, although it said it was 60, the wind chill made it feel like 40 the entire time. I was hiking. It was only an 8-mile hike, so I figured I only needed a light jacket, some snacks, and a full camelback. Of course, I was alone, and packed nothing else. I get there around 10 a.m. in the morning, and hike up. It's a gorgeous day to come back down. When I get near my car, I have the sneaking suspicion that I don't have my keys, only to dig around in my pocket and realize I was right. They aren't in the car, so they must have fallen or dropped out of my pockets while on the trail. It's about 1:30 p.m., so I figure I can go up and down and look for my keys. I do the entire hike again, most of the time running, and I don't find anything. Disheartened, tired, and cold, I am running out of options. So I get out of my car and realize I have not seen one person out on the trail that day. No one is parked anywhere near, and Highway 2 was blocked off in different spots due to wildfire a couple of years before. So I see no one on the road. My cell phone has no reception, of course. And it's getting dark fast, and I am getting cold, with nothing else to keep me warm. I start deciding if I should look up for help, if I should break the window in my car and get the blanket and water I have in there. But I remember that the call box down the road, about 3 or 4 miles, so I start walking there. Dusk has set and the temperature was down to probably 30 in the wind. My shorts and light jacket seemed like a terrible idea at the moment. Finally, at around the 3rd mile down the road, I see lights coming from behind. I hold up my thumb and flag down the car. Luckily, it's a lady who willingly takes me back to the bar where I can call a friend. He picks me up, and I come back later to pick up my car with AAA. I still have no ideas where those keys went, so if you see something shining in Mount Baden-Powell, those could be my keys. And finally, number 1. So my sister was telling me this story that happened to her sometime last year. We live in Australia, and my sister, her boyfriend, and some other friends of hers went for a camping holiday in Tasmania. They had hired a camper vans to get around, and they were driving in a pretty rural area, basically in the middle of nowhere. My sister and her friends found a nice beach and decided to camp there for the night. It was about 4 or 5 o'clock when they settled. A van was already parked in the beach before them. It was about 40 meters away, but at that stage they didn't care. They did notice, though, that a figure, which looked like a man, was sitting in the back seat of the van completely still. It didn't seem to be moving around much, except for some small motions. Once again, they weren't too worried and just thought there was some random dude perverting on them while they were at the beach. As it got darker and later, a friend of my sister started to get a little paranoid. After all, this guy had been sitting there for a couple of hours now, just staring at them. They had to come up with several theories as to what the guy was up to, if he needed help or something, or if this guy was just plain old fucked up. So it was maybe around 10 o'clock by now. Everyone was getting pretty nervy, and were thinking about driving off and finding another place to spend the night. But they decided to stay a little longer. One of them was feeling pretty brave, so they went up to the van and flashlight at a distance, where the others shone the headlights into the van and took a closer look. So they saw this guy, just sitting still, with heaps of these sheets in a weird black plastic, everywhere on black seat with him. In the end, everybody was just too creeped out, so they eventually drove off. But to this day, no one knows what he was doing there, or planning to do. Trust me, it sounded a lot more scary when she was telling me, so I'm just trying to recount the story. I don't know about you guys, but this experience sounds pretty freaky, being so mysterious and all, and I was pretty scared from what she told me. Hey guys, Krabby Reeds here. I just wanted to thank you so much for listening. If you have any scary stories to submit to me, please tell them in the comments below, or submit them to angrybirdsguy@gmail.com. No caps, of course. But anyway, please like the video, subscribe for more. See you all next time. Bye.